Hi everyone. Hello. Oh, this is a Thursday, right? Thursday. Yeah. So it's a weird day I'm coming on, but it's because I'm going off. It's my husband's birthday. So yeah. Hi Sam. Hello. It's my husband's birthday, and we're going off on a staycation after this. So I'm trying to squeeze in a live to this morning. Hi, Dad. Hi, Elan. Hi, Rektan. Hi, Mindful Pod. Right. So today I'm going to be talking about 3 ways to help your child build self confidence and thrive. And I'm going to talk about the F word today. Okay, many F words today. So, yeah. And have you guessed what the F word is? Okay, I'm not going to give you make a big riddle out of it, but I'm going to give it to you. The word here is freedom. And today I'll be specifically talking about freedom for the child, and what does it actually mean? And how do you give your child freedom? Why is it so important? So I'm going to be talking about 3 points today. So hopefully you'll stay to the end, because I think the key is the third point. Okay, so when I talk about freedom, it's about being free, about being not constrained, right? And our kids are able to follow their heart's desire. I think it is a bit of a foreign concept to a lot of us, because being an Asian family or Asian parenting context, our subconscious way of parenting is to control, is to contain the child, is to discipline and to teach the child to behave in a certain way that is acceptable to us, or acceptable to what society thinks a child should or how a child should behave, right? It is always the discussion is always our will versus the child's will, and that we have to overpower the child so that we mold the child, like mold the child, teach the child, the kind of lingo, like don't let them do this, stop them from doing that, etc. So yeah, sure, some of these actions are dangerous or reckless, and it's definitely our job as parents to protect our kids from harm. But when we have a deeper appreciation of what's going on in their little minds and what's happening in this particular stage of development, I think we can better understand and support our kids' development. So my very first point is a child needs freedom to follow his or her heart's desire. And when we give the child freedom, we are aiding and accelerating their learning process. So we all have seasons of learning, of practice, of mastery, of rest and reflection. I think this is how most of us go through periods of growth and learning, and that's no different from a child. So every time when a child enters his or her sensitive period, I think some of you have heard me speak about this before. Sensitive periods is a Montessori concept. Montessori observed in her charges, in her students, that every one of these kids, they all go through almost fixed or typical periods of development in their early childhood and even later childhood, childhood as well. That there are certain very fixed, very observable periods of sensitivity to learning a certain skill, or all of them will go through a period where they're just so intensely interested in mastering a certain skill or a certain mastery. Yeah. So for example, like language is well documented, is a 0 to 6-year-old sensitive period for language. Once the child passes this sensitive period, it's not that he cannot learn a new language. It just becomes a lot more, is a conscious effort. It's definitely something that he needs to be consciously putting in effort for. Whereas like from 0 to 6, if he's exposed to the language in a very rich way, in a very real and authentic way, then he just kind of absorbs it almost subconsciously and super easily. So therefore, when we know what the child's sensitive periods are, there are about 8 of them, okay? When we know what the child's sensitive period is, we are able to curate the child's environment, give him the right kind of learning materials, and learn to observe and calibrate what your child wants to learn, what is that next step for him, so that we do not frustrate him, but instead we encourage him and challenge the child to go on exploring at their own pace and build mastery at their own levels, right? So recently, So yeah, we can't control the time. We cannot control the maturation of the brain, but we can control and influence the environment and give opportunity to our kids, right? So recently, I spoke about my child Ariel, and she was climbing the gate. I think a lot of you expressed concern, including my mom and my dad. Actually, my dad, he told me. So he screenshot. My mom is not on Instagram. So he screenshot and I put that picture in our family chat group. And then my mom jumped, right? She was like, how can you let her do that? You know, she's climbing the gate so high. What if she falls? And I was like, yes, I will be careful, mom. But not to say that my mom is wrong, but I think for me and my husband, we have taught her, we have tried to warn her. And when she first started doing it, we definitely say, oh, calm down, you know. But when she kept doing it, because I think she enjoyed that thrill, you know, that calculated risk and that danger that they expose, that they want to challenge themselves with, there's no point. There's really no point stopping them. And in fact, if they are that was when she was in her sensitive period for motor skills, right? So she wants to climb the gate, she wants to climb and challenge herself, like, and in that, what does she learn in that process? She learns that she learns balance. She develops her gross motor skills. She trains and strengthens them, right? And she learns to balance and shift her body weight on 3 points, or maybe 2 sometimes. So so we tried to stop her, but at the same time, we're like, okay, since we can't stop her and she likes the attention, you know, the more we try to stop her, the more she wants to do it. So in the end, me and my husband thought, okay, we will just teach her how to calm down safely, by moving her legs and her limbs, you know, and we guide her down safely. And once we see that she can do it confidently and safely enough, you know, then we're just gonna we stop batting an eyelid. It's like, okay, Ariel, please calm down. Okay. And we stopped it at that, you know, and she would, because she realizes that we are not paying her that much attention anymore, right? So I think that anyway, the whole thing is that once she has mastered climbing the gate, she probably is not she's not interested in it anymore. And and when we did not try to stop her, okay, what she achieved in this whole process is that she learned how to climb. She learned how to come down safely. She strengthened her limbs. She learned how to balance and coordinate her muscles. She gained confidence in her own abilities, a confidence and a belief in herself. You know, that's just something that she has to navigate for herself. And I think that confidence is more precious than us trying to stop her and trying to prevent any and every accident. Yeah. My kids have gone through accidents, and sometimes it's heartbreaking when we have to like bring them to the hospital to fix them up, especially for my second boy, my boy who is the second born. I think he's gone in and out of hospital for 2-3 times. Like once he was just playing soccer and he just fell on his tooth and he broke his tooth. Yeah, so and of course cut his lip and all that. So we had to bring him to hospital in the middle of the night, or in the evening, and the next day we were going off to Legoland. So that was 2-3 years back. It's heartbreaking, but at the same time, it's just about calculating that risk, right? And seeing what is that trade-off. If we bubble protect our kids all the time and try to protect them from every single danger, then I think the kids would have missed out a lot on opportunities, on building their self-confidence and learning that they can do it. They can overcome challenges and and have an innate belief in their own competence. So if you have no idea what sensitive periods are, there are about 8 of them. Or how to identify your child's current sensitive periods, I have a free training for you. So it's a free video training and workbook with tips. So I'll put the link in later, but it's at elephant.co/sensitive period video. Okay, now I'm moving on to my second point. So a child needs freedom to express himself. So for the first part, we spoke about the physical environment, right? So how about the emotional environment and space? Your child needs a safe space to vent and to express his frustrations and anxiety safely. So, lucky or not, I think mothers, we all often bear the brunt of it, right? Like, have you encountered your child whom his or her teachers would say, oh, he's an angel, or he's such a good boy. And then when he comes home, he like unleashes like the day's fury on you, and he starts raging and screaming and crying. So I think a lot of us have experienced that. And that happened to me last year a lot, and occasionally this year too, because my son, he just entered, he entered primary 1 last year, and then he would come home raging, especially, and his trigger is Chinese homework and Chinese 习字. So every time he has to do that, and 听写, so every time he needs to write, he would scream and throw himself on the ground and cry when he's asked to complete his homework. And it was really, really trying and very, it was just like, wow, I cannot, in the afternoons. So, but I kept telling myself that he's just venting and he just needs to let it out, because he's been so restrained and so controlled and regimented in a primary school setting. And there's very, very little freedom in schools, right? Even for preschools, your schools go into a childcare, and they are told when to sit, they are told when to stand. Their lessons what to learn. Their lessons are regulated in half period blocks, when they can go toilet, when they can move around. And with the recent COVID restrictions, things have gotten even worse, right? Like my son, I asked him like, oh, do you enjoy school? He's like, no. Do you talk to your friends? No. Teacher says cannot talk. And I mean, I understand from a safety point of view, but from a child development point of view, it's really not healthy for our kids when they cannot talk to their friends, they cannot run around in the playground during recess and release their pent-up energy. So even my baby's school, they can't even go to the playground anymore because I think they just cannot go to the playground. So it's a new normal, and our kids are having it hard. So being in such a restrained environment already most of the day, when they come home and you are their safe space, definitely they are going to they may act up, okay, and they may need just to vent, just to let all their negative emotions out, all their frustration, all their lack of control, all the anxiety and of their lack of control in such a situation come out, so I think as parents, when we know that, when we can understand that, we just need to give them grace and that safe period and that safe space to vent. So my third point is that we have to give, this is the clincher. Oh, hi, Amelia. Yes, my son cries every time he has a coloring task. Yeah, I know. My son as well, he hates coloring. Basically, he hates anything that has to do with a pen and writing. Yeah, so. Okay, so I'm coming to my third point, and that is the clincher, We have to give freedom with reasonable limits. I think this is a really, really important point. If we just give absolute freedom, that is just indulgence. That is just, that's not doing the child any favors. So freedom without limits is indulgence and neglect. It is wrong and willful if we don't draw that clear boundaries for our kids. And it's really unfair for our kids, because they don't know what those boundaries are, or that the boundaries are often shifting. Like one day they can do this and then they don't get into trouble, but another day they can't. Another day they get yelled at, they get scolded, and it often depends on our moods, right? So that creates a really unstable emotional environment for our kids. And I think nothing is more damaging. Okay, not nothing, but it is really damaging or destructive for a child to be in an unsafe and unstable emotional environment, because he's always then subjected to fear. He always doesn't know, and he's very not in control. He doesn't know when is mommy going to act up. He doesn't know what he can do without getting scolded. And he doesn't know what he should do to not get scolded, I think my appreciation of boundaries and limits and laws was one of the sermons in church that I heard. one of the Sundays. So the preacher was saying that, we often think like laws are very restrictive. Laws are to control the people, control the population, or the people from doing bad things. Is to curb our freedom so that we cannot do whatever we want to. But another perspective that I heard was that, like in the Bible, right? In the Bible, the Israelites, after being, if you know the story, okay, that there's a nation of Israel. The Israelites were enslaved for hundreds of years, okay, and when they were freed, they were set free from Egypt, and they were going to build their own country in the land, right? Then. And God gave them the 10 commandments. And people often think like 10 commandments are rules, are laws that they cannot break. That is to control the people. But the speaker was saying that actually the rules are rules to help them live in honor and righteousness, and which in fact gives them freedom. And we know that for a fact also for ourselves, right? We can have freedom to go out at night because we know that it's safe if there are laws in place. If it's a lawless land, if people do not follow laws, then it becomes a very unsafe place, and then we don't have freedom. We don't have the freedom to do the things that we want to do whenever we want to do. Of course, the right things, not the wrong things, right? And in fact, Maslow's Triangle, if you know Maslow's Triangle, he talks about that people have different needs. So at the base level is, of course, food. He talks about the need for food, security, and shelter, and safety. So when safety is not met, when people do not feel safe, they cannot self-actualize, which is at the top tier of the triangle. They cannot find what they want to do. They cannot do the things or find their purpose and the fulfillment and their calling and all sorts of those higher psychological needs, right? So when our kids have safety, our kids have limits and boundaries at the bottom, they feel safe. Only then they can move up that triangle, and we can talk about, what's the child's interest? What is the child's calling? What's that child's purpose? What is that child's passion and talent? So without these safe boundaries at the bottom, the child cannot move up to fulfill his needs at the top of that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Okay, so when there are rules, routines, boundaries, schedules, okay, then our kids learn how to behave within these safe confines. Of course, they are going to test us. Of course, they're going to test the boundaries and test our patience and when, especially at the 2 to 3, 2 to 4 age, I know a lot of parents are struggling with this power struggles with your child every day. Like, you have the rules, but your kids are just testing you every day. I want you to change your perspective today, maybe. So think about it this way about the power struggles. It's a test. Your child is a scientist. He is just prodding every rule that you have to see how strong is mommy on this. How strict is this rule? Can I break it and get away with it? Oh, this one cannot. Mommy says no, every day must brush teeth. Oh, this one cannot break. So after a while, it's a test. It's an experiment that after a while he will learn like what are the rules that are unbreakable, and he will get into lots of serious trouble, and what are the rules that can be bent, can be negotiated. And that's the one that those are the ones that you want to re-look at your rules and see and reflect. Is this really necessary? Do I really need to say no? Does my child really need to finish his homework before he plays computer games? Yes. So that's the one rule that I will have to keep constant and be very, very firm about it without giving them a chance to say, oh, okay, today, yeah, it's okay. Like you don't have to do your homework. You can play your computer games first, right? Because once you do that, then they will realize, oh, this rule is actually bendable. Let me try it again tomorrow. And then there are some rules, right? Like, I don't know, no snacking in between meal times, things like that. It's a good to have rule, but at the same time, if you think that it's not going to be life or death, and this is something you can negotiate and bend a bit, then I would suggest that you cut back on those rules, because it just drains you of your energy. So just focus on that two or three rules that are non-negotiable, and and then save your energy for those, and then just try to say yes to everything else. So that reduces the kind of power struggles, and helps give you a bit more sanity, right? Okay, so yeah, so the freedom of limits applies to toys too, applies to materials in your home, applies to even learning materials for Montessori, shelves, and all that. So if you find that all your things, all the things are overwhelming for you, try to put some limits on them in your physical environment. I always say that there are three things, right? The three things in the Montessori triangle is always the child, the environment, and the adult. Adults are hard to change. We are hard to change, right? I mean, people are hard to change. It's hard to change our child. But what's the easiest and fastest way to change? Fastest thing to change is the environment, because it's a quick win. Once you change the environment, things will likely change. Behavior will change. We will change. Our demeanor, our our moods will change. So I often say, okay, if you find like, wow, you are always struggling with that same, like, you blow up when you are triggered, your emotional states are always difficult to deal with consistently, then okay, let's put that aside for now. Let's try to do something that is doable, that is a quick win, that the effect is almost immediate, and that's always the environment. And children are hard to change, right? I mean, it's hard to change your child. Yeah. So when we clean up the environment, when we clear away the clutter, when we just limit the toys to 2 or 3 sets, and that, or maybe even just one. If you find that your child has a massive collection of Legos and is all over the place every day, then just keep away the magnet tiles, or even keep away the Duplo, and maybe just bring out a limited set, enough for your child to express creativity and work with. But at the same time, the pack up isn't so daunting. Every day you're not spending like an hour or half an hour just picking up toys, and putting them back in their place, or arguing with your child for half an hour, like, pack up your toys, no, right? The other thing was, even, and in fact, don't you think that when there are limits, the child gets even more creative, because he has to work within those limits. So if he doesn't have a specific Lego block, okay, that is very, very uniquely shaped, then if he wants to build a certain thing that requires that shape, then all the more he has to rack his brains to come up with that shape using a couple of other blocks, a couple of the bricks that fit together, right? So limits are a good thing. Don't think of rules and limits as a bad thing. Think of it as a good thing, and it helps to keep our children in a safe boundary and environment. Okay, so yes, as I said, knowing the sensitive periods give us adults a safe boundary too. We don't have to spread ourselves too thin and be all over the place. We can just focus on that few things, that few rules. And this gives us freedom from guilt and the gift of focus. This F word was given to me by one of my tribe members, focus, because I asked them to guess what was the F word, and she said focus. And I thought, yeah, that's right, focus. Freedom from guilt, gift of focus. And another F word is to F the things that are great but not necessary right now. Example, the useless opinions of others who insist our kids should learn this or know that or do this or do that. Just F it. Yeah, like it's just water off your back. Don't bother about the opinions of others, because when we make our child the compass, when we make our child the focus, we just focus on what he or she needs to do right now, learn right now, and then we just give him whatever he needs right at this moment. So for now, focus on what your child needs. He needs your presence. He needs your loving eyes on him. He needs your back and forth conversation. He needs your time, your hugs, and the freedom with limits that you give him. And when we get better at mastering knowing our kids, observing him, giving freedom with limits, we can curate that environment that is able to help him foster concentration, which helps him with mastery, and which gives him confidence. So yeah, that's all I have to share with you guys. I'd love to answer any questions or any, like, I don't agree with you with this point, let me know. And if not, I do have a free gift for you, a free training for you. It's a video training, about 4 or 5 videos, short videos on sensitive periods. And you can go through the video and learn about each sensitive period and what are the signs of each sensitive period, and see whether your child is exhibiting those signs. And then I have an accompanying workbook for you, which gives you the action steps. So for example, if your child is in a sensitive period for language, if he's at the 0 to 2 range or 0 to the age range, what can you do? What should you do? Should you be teaching phonics? No, you shouldn't be teaching phonics to a 0 to 2-year-old child. Okay, I would say 0 to 18 months because some kids are a bit early. So if he is just interested in speaking to you, being with you, then what should you do? How should you set up your environment? And then when he hits that sensitive period for words, for letters, then what are the things that he would say or point out to you, so you know that, oh, he's entering his sensitive period for words, for language, in terms of words, of writing, of reading and writing. Yeah. And then there are 7 other sensitive periods. Not all of them are academic. In fact, only like language and math are more academic. The rest are like practical life, sensitivity to order, to movement, which is what a lot of you will face at a toddler age. And it's the sensitive period to movement actually lasts very long. A lot of us think like, oh, it's a few weeks, he's been climbing and climbing and climbing. Then maybe we should like move him to do like sit down activities or worksheets. But it doesn't work that way. The sensitive period to movement can last a long time because your child just needs to move, to exercise, and to get his gross motor skills up and going. Yep. So I will leave the link in the IGTV, and you can check it out, and in my bio as well. So you can go check it out. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. If you have no other questions for me, I will see you some other time. All right. Let me just take a look. All right. Oh, hello. Hi, Faith. Okay. So I'm talking to my Facebook friends right now. Hi, Faith. Yes, the F word is freedom. Actually, I say a lot of F words today. Freedom, focus, effort, effort to those who do not understand our child and try to impose their opinions on us. So we should take those things into consideration, but not let it affect you so much that you lose focus. Just keep your child in mind. Your child should always be the center of your focus, and whatever we do is to help him move to the next level or help him to meet his developmental needs. Okay? All right. So thank you so much for being with me. Yeah, I had fun. It's been a long time because I took a Chinese New Year break that lasted more than 15 days, but yeah. So thank you, and I will see you really soon. Bye.